Welcome to Moonscapes. It is June the 15th, 2013, and we are sitting on a moon one day from first quarter. My name is Jim Hannon, and we're coming to you from Terryville, Connecticut. And for the first time in this series of moon videos I've been doing, I've pulled out the big gun. I've pulled out my Meade 10-inch f4 telescope. This is the telescope that I've had in my observatory when I had my house and retired and sold the house and moved into this retirement community. I had given a scope to a friend of mine to use, and I went and picked it up this week and brought it back home, and I intend on using it for a while to do a series of moon images. Now, the one thing with this telescope is it's an f4. Now, what does that mean? 10-inch f4. Well, the f4 times the 10-inch diameter means it's a 40-inch focal length telescope. What does that mean? That means it's good for deep sky objects, planetary nebula, galaxies, faint nebula. In other words, the faint fuzzies that us deep sky imagers used to like to go after. So to make it better for the use on the moon, we need to stick in a Barlow. Putting the 2 times Barlow in there will turn it to an f8 or an 80-inch focal length. Or as I've done tonight, I have a 3x Barlow in there, so that drives it up to a focal length of 120 millimeters. And I can see from what I've got here tonight that I'm even going to be able to go farther. I'm going to be able to push that up even higher, maybe get a 5x Barlow, or stack a 2x Barlow on top of another 2 and get 4. But for tonight, I'm getting a weird message on here. I'm just trying to look and see what it says. Would like to say... I'm not sure what that's saying, telling me. Anyway, okay. So anyway, now we are using this 10-inch telescope, and I've got a real nice image of the moon. Now, just to give you a little background on what I do when I do my videos, after we go past full moon and I've completed my moon videos for the cycle, I have a couple-week period where it's quiet, nothing's going on, and that's generally when I plan. So we got a real nice image, real nice detail. This scope is really working nice with that Barlow. And I plan my next set of videos around what's going to be visible. I'll pick out a crater or a formation, and I'll plan a video around that. Or something historical. Maybe pick up on something historical and do a video around that. Well, I had planned on this video to do one on the moon as an open history book. In other words, take its cratering and show how it's an open history book to the early heavy cratering period of the early solar system. But when I was doing that, I ran across a very interesting story on the crater Riccius. Riccius or Riccius, however we want to pronounce it. It's spelled Riccius. Now, how did I come across this crater? Relatively unknown. I hadn't heard of it. I actually came across some videos on another site, and I'm going to tell you now, thanks to this site, this is what's got me really going. If you haven't already found, and if you found my videos on the moon, I wouldn't be surprised if you've already seen the videos from this fellow down in Richmond, Texas. His name is Bill Bryson. His site is called Moon Musings. And he produces some of the most awesome videos I have seen in high definition of the moon. His work is fabulous. He does just great imaging of the moon. He does it with tremendous enthusiasm. And in fact, he's the reason I'm out doing these videos. I've talked to you in the past a little bit about my physical disabilities. I'm going to be 69 years old in September. Massive back problems with surgeries, large surgeries. And it's not fun setting up equipment anymore. But listening to Bill's videos and watching them, he's really got me excited and got me out here doing some of this stuff. Well, I went back and I looked at some of his videos, and I ran across something that really interested me. Bill, in fact, Bill, I hope you watch this videos that I'm doing here tonight, and I would really like you to go back and image that crater Riccius also. And why am I so interested in it? Well, he came up with an object which he calls in his videos a snake bridge. And to find his videos, if you go to his site, look at, let me see, I've wrote them down here so I can give you the numbers. Go to his Moon Musings number 56 and number 85. Both of those deal with this Riccius crater and the snake bridge, as he calls it. And then also there's a mention of it on video number 70, where he talks about a little bit about a problem that he sees with NASA apparently blocking out this area of the moon, and I'll try to remember to hit on that a little bit as we go along. So just what is it at this Riccius crater? Well, Bill, in his great enthusiasm, studied the crater right at sunrise, and as the sun hit this crater, it hit what appears to be what he called a coiled up snake that looks like it was hanging out over the crater and then pointing to another spire on the other side. And it looked like you could actually almost agree with him. It looks like a piece fell off and this bridge, or natural bridge, had collapsed and fallen into the crater. Now, Bill and I differ in our approaches to the astronomy. Like I say, he has a tremendous amount of enthusiasm, and he believes in UFOs and life on the moon, and that's just fine. I have no problem with that. I don't. I come at it from a scientific point of view. But he believes, as he states in his videos, that this possibly could be an ancient alien construction of a bridge that collapsed into the crater. Well, I became very interested in it and start looking into it. And the first thing I did is I went to all kinds of maps and checked online, Googled everything, and I had no problem whatsoever. I found no problem with NASA blocking out anything. I had all kinds of access to pictures of the crater, and I'll touch on that again a little bit later on. But tonight, we're on the near quarter moon, and we're going to go in on this area. One thing I'm a little sorry about is I see that even with a 3-power Barlow, I really don't have the power I would. I'm probably going to need to go to a 4 or 5 power Barlow to really get in close, because I'm starting out with such a low powered scope with the F4. But let's start out and first of all get centered on Riccius. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and at first notice those 3 craters. I'm going to try to center those up in the center of the frame. As soon as I get the buttons to go. Okay, right about dead center in the frame now. Notice that chain of 3 large craters. The one to the left with a mountain is Theophilus, and then that 3-mountain chain goes over 2, a little bit to the left of it and higher up in the field. Notice there's a white line. I like to refer to it as a snake line. Pretty interesting. He's talking about snake bridges, and here I'm talking about a snake line. That's actually the Altai Scarp on the moon. It's a scarp, an area of the moon which is thrust upward on one side and fallen on the other, and produced this feature. And I'm having all kinds of trouble centering this. Let me get this centered up. That white line, anyway, leads from the 3 craters. We start with Theophilus, and that runs up to the crater. It's got a weird name. I'm going to look at my notes here. That crater is Ptolemaea. Let's zoom in a little bit more and bring it down. Okay, down and over. There we go. We're getting near the center. Okay, we've got it. Okay, almost dead center now. See that white snakish line, and it leads to that crater that's got a mountain in the center, and I'll zoom in a little more, keep going. There you can see the Altai Scarp very nicely, that white line. It starts at 6 o'clock in the frame and snakes on its way up through that nice, fairly large crater with the mountain range in it, the central peak in it. Okay, so now we have to go a little bit to the left of that crater. Notice there are 4 craters that make a square box. There's 2 smaller ones close to the crater with the mountain range in the center. And then farther over, there are 2 larger craters, one at the bottom and one at the top, completing the box. And I'm zoomed in just about as far as I can go. There I am. I'm in all the way now. And the crater we're interested in is the upper right-hand corner of the 4 craters that form that box. And notice, let me see if I can get that centered up better. Okay, now that crater Riccius is nearly dead center. Notice the crater, it's very, very disturbed. It's a roundish crater, but it's got craters which have impacted on its walls. Up at 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock, there are impacts on its walls. And over near the 9 o'clock position on that crater, there are also impacts. Now, the sun is high on this area tonight. And I know my orientation is different than Bill's is in his telescope. He has a Schmidt-Cassegrain telescope. The scope I'm using tonight is actually a Schmidt Newtonian. And so I might have a different angle on it than his view. I think it might be reversed. But in Bill's view, he shows that, again, that crater with the sun angle very, very low, and it's catching an arm that looks like, I say, going out over the crater, which he thinks is part of a bridge. Well, notice in our view here now we have the sun angle high. Again, let's put it dead center again. It's kind of drifting on me. It's nearly dead center. It's that crater dead center, a little above dead center. And notice there's craters pocketed all around the rim of it. One at 12, one at 1 o'clock. And there's some disruptions over near 8 o'clock on here. What I believe has happened is very similar to what happened to me several videos ago when I ran into Purbeck's cross on the moon. Purbeck's cross is a perfect-looking X along the terminator of their moon, and it's only visible for about 2 hours out of every month of the lunar month. You have to catch it as the rays of the sun catch it just coming over the walls of these particular 3 craters, and it makes it look like a perfect X. You wait about 2 hours, the sun will rise a little higher, and that perfect X will totally disappear, and you can see the 3 craters that actually made it. Now, my take on this is that's exactly what's happened here at Riccius crater. You look down at the top of it now, the sun angle is much, much higher. You can see there is no spire at all that sticks out into the middle of the crater. I believe it might be that whitish mark over at 9 o'clock. That may be part of the spire of what he saw. Actually, what it is, it's the rim of a crater. And as I look at it now, it does look like the one at 9 o'clock. Notice the crater that's in the wall of Riccius at 9 o'clock. Notice there's a whitish feature that kind of extends out into the crater. I believe that's what he was seeing. Now, what that is, that's a ridge which is kind of squared off on that crater. It kind of elongated and straight, and then the rest of the crater comes off of it and completes a circular formation. Well, that part of the wall, the crater wall, is higher than the rest of the surrounding terrain in that crater. And so what's happened is the early sun on Riccius caught that piece of that crater, that straight-walled crater, and it made it appear as a straight line. And that straight line appeared to be hanging over the crater, forming part of a bridge. And then if you look over on the other side of Riccius, there are those other craters, and they actually, in a very, very low sun angle, could easily have formed what he thought were tunnels. You can see especially that one up near 12 o'clock. The back wall, well, that really looks like at a very slow angle, looks like it could appear as a cave. So what I really believe happened is that Bill caught these, and if you go back in and check his 2 videos, as I said, I think they are I'll give them to you again. They are in his moon musing sites. They are videos number 56 when he first discovered it, and 85 when he reobserved it, and again it's also mentioned in video number 70. And look at it, and you'll see that they were viewed at a very, very low sun angle. We are at a much higher angle. The sun has gotten into that crater, and now you can really see what's going on. And that bridge just does not exist. It's and I've lost it now completely. I've got to kind of bring it back. It's just a trick of lighting at very, very low sun angles. Now, to give you a little bit of information, and again, I hope Bill has a chance to check my video out. According to a program I have called the Virtual Moon Atlas, it tells me that this feature, Riccius, will be on the terminator, or as Bill liked to say, the shadow line. We refer to he refers to the terminator as a shadow line. It's I guess it's one thing we have to hand him. He's not been in astronomy as long as my 57 long years, but of course we as serious astronomers know it as the terminator. But anyway, Riccius will be on the terminator at about 5.3 days from new moon. It'll be right on the terminator, and that sharp low-level lighting should occur. If you could recheck it at that time, it'd be very interesting to see if that structure, bridge-like structure, shows up again. And then I would say try observing it again 24 or 48 hours later, and you'll get to see what I've got here. And that is, it's just a very unusual crater. Nothing unusual inside on the floor. The floor is relatively flat as I look at it. And again, I'm having trouble getting it back where I want it. And what we have is a lot of cratering in its walls, which has given it a very disturbed look. So the lesson there is you've got to be aware that when you observe right along the terminator, light can really play games with you. It can really play tricks. And we'll check some things out here along this terminator here in a second, and I'll show you what I mean. You get some very sharp, vivid detail, but it can be, it can really fool you. Yeah. Like I say, it's thanks to Bill Bryson that I'm out doing these videos, because I'm in a situation now where my back is so bad that I'll be out here tonight and I'm having fun. I'm looking at this image of the moon and I'm just enjoying I'm just really enjoying what I'm doing. And I'm thinking, boy, tomorrow night that the Terminator's going to move over, and these other features are going to be coming into view. And boy, I got to get out here and again tomorrow night and do those craters. My mind's already running and thinking about what I can do tomorrow night, and the body's telling me, oh hell no, you're not. You've had it for a couple days. But Bill's got me out here, street lights and all. I've got all kinds of lighting. You can imagine being in a retirement community just how well it's lit. It's lit really well, but we're dealing with the moon. So I don't need the real dark skies like I used to have. So Bill's got me out here. He's got me really jived up, and It's thanks to his site, and like I say, we really do differ. He's into the UFOs and the and the life on the moon, and of course I'm not. I'm more scientific. In fact, I have recorded my first UFO, if you want to call it that. As I said, I reviewed some of other videos on YouTube, and I've determined most of them, that if not all, are birds. And I've had none for hours and hours of viewing. And I end it, as I'm talking, let me start moving around here to the moon here a little bit, and we'll take a look at some different features. I ended my last video, boy, there's some nice detail right here. I ended my last video, and I usually allow 5 or 6 seconds of the camera to run as I close out and then end it. And right as the camera was running for its 4 or 5 seconds, I had a bird enter from the 6 o'clock position of my field and flew straight up through the field and out at 12 o'clock. And you could tell definitely it was a bird. It was probably at least a half a mile away, if not more. And it flew right in front of the moon. And it's the first one I've had. And it's what a lot of people call UFOs. I call them, well, I guess you'd have to call them identified flying objects, so I guess they'd be IFOs. They're birds. Notice here, now here's what I'm talking about, though. Look at the detail along this terminator, or as Bill would call the shadow line, and I don't mind saying that. That's what he calls it. That's what he wants to call it. But along this terminator, look at the detail that's visible back in the dark, but yet the mountains are so high and the edges of these craters are so high that even though they're back on the dark side of the terminator, they're up catching light. Now, if you sat on one of these, you'd only have to sit on it for about 20 minutes and you'd see change in those shadows. They would occur that quickly. This crater rim right here, that would change very, very quickly. And notice here as we come farther up, let's go farther along. I'm looking. Yeah, here's some here, right here. Look at it, right up near the top here, right up. We're near the south pole of the moon, and look how far into that terminator, way over into the dark. There's 2 points of light sticking up. And I can see why people will get excited and say, look at those lights. Some of the light. No, they're just very, very high peaks, and they're so high that they're catching the sunlight coming around the moon before the terrain that they're part of catches the sunlight. So it's really, really pretty interesting. Let me see if I can do a little adjusting here. It looks like... let me try turning the auto exposure off and see if I can adjust this down a little bit. Yeah, it's a little better there. You got to play. I've learned a lot from Bill's site, his moon musing site, about controlling this camera, and he is the master of controlling this camera. He's got some of the best videos, I said, that I've ever seen, and I learned a lot. I learned if you watch one of his earlier videos, he actually shows the machined camera holder he has that allows him to put his camera in and change eyepieces out and such. And I actually copied that idea, making a homemade version of it. In fact, if you check one of my earlier videos out, I kind of show you how I did that. But the idea is based almost exactly the same on Bill's machine model version. Now, the only he has an advantage on me is he's running some software called the View, and it allows him to put it on pause and go change out some eyepieces and Barlows. And I'm still running the Logitech software. I have not upgraded yet, so I've actually got to completely stop my video and restart it if I want to change my system out. I can change eyepieces anytime I want. It's just that it's not convenient for me to stop during a presentation and change. I would have to sign off set up the new setup with different eyepiece, and then start a new video, which is not a real problem, but it's just not as convenient. Look at this, these craters here. Man, these are beautiful. I'm not sure. Let's back out a little bit and kind of see where we are. Okay, they're, let me see, backing out way out, and that's too far. You can see the vignetting on the side there, the circle. Okay, let me see. I've got my atlas of the moon going here near the computer, and I should be able to find those craters here in a second. If you give me a second to fool around here and find out just where we are. That's off of Tranquility. Let's see. That's nope. I still haven't found it yet. Give me a second here, and I will. Okay. All right, here they are. Here they are. I've got them. I've got to get up into. Okay. I'm going to zoom back into them, and then I'll give you some information on them. Let's zoom back in. I'm looking at those two large craters. They're over near 2 o'clock. I'll center them up a little better here for us. Centered now, almost. Centered. Centered. You're supposed to be. Why can't I get this to go the way I want? There we go, there we go. Okay. Okay, almost dead centered, kind of diagonally anyway. And the larger crater has a flat floor, and it has actually has a crater inside of it. That crater is Hipparchus, and you know what? That's, wait a minute. Now again, this is, I'm going to have to. It's giving me smaller craters within that crater, and I don't want that. I want the whole floor of this crater. You know what? It's giving me some weird names. I want to check something out here. No, that's Albert Guinness is up on top. That's the top one. I don't want that one yet. I want that large. I don't know why. This program is really nice, but it has an X, and you can hit on a crater and get its name. But the problem is it'll also, if there's little craters in the floor of it, it'll give you those instead of the main crater. And sometimes you have a hard time finding a spot that'll give you the diameter of the crater. And that's exactly the problem I'm having right now. And I am not having any luck. Anyway, well, I can tell you that crater in the floor, that large crater over near 8 o'clock, is Horrocks, and that crater is 18 miles in diameter. I still have not been able to pin down that large crater, and I don't feel like going to my paper maps because it'd be a pain in the neck. But for the meantime, I'll forget about the larger structure. And I'll bring that other crater now to dead center. That's a large crater, and it's got a crater buried in its wall at 3 o'clock. That crater is, let's see, Albert Guinness. Albert Guinness is 82 miles in diameter. And that crater that's in its wall over at the 3 o'clock position is Klein. And Klein is a 27-mile wide crater. And let me see. We can zoom in a little closer and get a little better look at those. I'm fairly happy with the images of this this 8-inch. I'm sorry, this 10-inch. They're sharp, and they will take more power. They will take a 4X Barlow. I bet you I could put my 2X Barlow in there and a 2 on top of that and get a 4, or even get a 5X Barlow and really get the most out of this telescope. Oh, and the other thing I kind of forgot about was when Bill was working on this crater Riccius, he mentioned that he has an application and a map and he went to it after he discovered what he thought was this bridge, and he claims that the area on his map was blacked out. And, of course, that brings up the NASA situation, and NASA hiding things and lying to us. And I get the feeling that Bill goes along with that, and I don't. Nowhere, anywhere could I find any indication of NASA hiding anything about Riccius on us. If they're trying to hide something on Riccius, they're doing a terrible job. Every map I have showed the crater Riccius just wide open and plain with no problem. I searched it on the web. I had no problem pulling up photographs of it, and the bridge was not there either. So I do not know what he ran into when he ran into this application where it was blacked out. Like I say, sometimes NASA, when they're using, I don't know if this is the case, or one of these later missions that they've had up there and they do the imaging, sometimes they'll release a partial map if the probe has not completed its imaging, and they'll go ahead. Let's see, I'm gonna put this back on auto. I want to see what happens here. It doesn't do much, but they sometimes they'll release parts of the map that are complete, and the satellite, because of poor lighting conditions and the orbital mechanics, will not have taken a picture of that area yet. So they'll release a map, and it'll have a blacked out area there because a photograph hadn't been taken. Now that could be the case with this Riccius and the map he was using. I don't know, but I can tell you that there is no maps anywhere that I could find where the crater was being hidden, so you couldn't see it. So anyway, and I'm looking at my time, and doggone it, there again, here I am at 32 minutes in. Time just flies. I'm coming over here now. I want to just do a quick check of the Lunar Mare area, the Sea of Tranquility, and there it is. There's that nice blue dividing line between the Sea of Serenity and Mare Tranquility. And where have I got my, let me see, the color, I'm right about midway. So look at when we drop it down. Now let's go higher with it. Look at that. That's pretty good. That's really strong. We don't want to go too strong though, because then you start to get it gets a little overpowering. That rust red that looks a little not really true. I like putting it down right around in this area here. One thing that Bill and I really do agree on is the color. Color is slight. The moon is, you look through a telescope at the moon and it's going to look gray. There's very little color. But this camera, the C910 Logitech, which both Bill and I am using, it does bring out the color nicely, and it does enhance it. I mean, it does over-enhance, and that's the only way you can really get to see the colorization on the moon is by over-enhancing the color. But it does a fantastic job. Anyway, I see here I'm getting overly long on this video. Again, the time just flies by. So anyway, I think we pretty much solved the mystery of Riccius. There isn't a bridge there. It's a trick of sunlight very early on. Look at the part of the mountain, the Apennine mountain range down here at the bottom of the moon. We didn't really get to look around too much at the other parts of the moon tonight, but we will in the future. This 10-inch is just an awesome telescope, it looks like. The only problem I'm going to have with it is it's a very heavy instrument. Right now, sitting outside, I'm in my car again behind my retirement community. I have about 100 pounds worth of telescope and mount sitting outside my car. It's not an easy setup for me. It's very difficult. But I do like the image, and I do want to try going higher with more power. and sometimes with less power, and see what we get. Beautiful, beautiful image. And again, thanks to Bill Bryson. If it wasn't for him, I'd be sitting in watching a lot of TV and not out here having fun with the moon very much. He really stoked me and got me going good. And like I say, Bill, if you're out there and you looked at this, please do a session on Riccius again, and look at it under a higher lighting conditions, and see what you see, and let us know what you think about it. Anyway, with that, I'm going to sign off. I'm going to say good health to everybody, clear skies, and we'll see you again real soon, hopefully, guys. Take care.